Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Lucid, and we've got another turn here in the game of the Heims, the Battle of the Heims. And we'll start this one off with a message from Vanheim. Greetings from Vanheim. The war against Mekone seems to be pretty much won. With his other fort besieged, Muspelheim has his economy. Oh, besieged by Muspelheim, his economy's broken. I think it's impossible for him to break out of his cap. He may be able to conduct a successful cap defense once I can storm the fort in a few turns, but even that is unlikely as I put more and more forces on his cap. He could try something with his Titan, but with me having 10 to 15 Van Jarls or Van Herses with many great swords of sharpness and or other items, seems pretty unlikely to work. Assuming I win with not many losses, my plan is to attack Muspelheim next. Unlike Helheim, I have no nap with Muspelheim, so I'll probably set up a great elfing of him very soon after Mekone goes down. If I can accomplish this while Helheim and Muspelheim are still busy with Niflheim, I believe I will be set up for winning the game. Should Niflheim go down as quickly as Mekone, my plan is to instead ask Helheim to do a joint attack against Muspelheim. Muspelheim has grown quite big from the vulturing, so such a coalition makes a fair deal of sense. I don't think it makes much sense, but I think Helheim's position... I think for Helheim, if he's thinking, do I vulture Muspelheim or coalition them? I think it depends on where Muspelheim's forces are. If Muspelheim's forces are on the border with him, I think you make a deal with Muspelheim and you say, hey, why don't you send those forces to fight Vanheim? And I'll go attack Vanheim too. Because what you really don't want to do is you don't want to fight Muspelheim and like have all your guys die, but then Vanheim get most of the spoils. I think the other option is you just straight up attack. This is the other thing. Helheim is far more mobile than Vanheim. They have these flying guys that are like map move 4 or something stupid. So he could just like go take a bunch of Vanheim stuff. I think the matchup, like the Sacreds probably trade pretty interestingly. I think it's like not clear which ones are going to trade better with which ones. So I think I don't think it's like a clear, oh, this is a bad matchup or something. I think that's much more like situational. But the momentum that Vanheim has right now is so much more than the momentum that like Muspelheim has or Helheim has. And if they just juggernaut into... This is the other thing, like when you play on a donut map, there's a lot more inertia and momentum, and you can just snowball a lot faster because there's not as many people to team up on you. And given that, you should try to juggernaut. You know, it's a good strategy. So Vanheim's way more likely set up to juggernaut than Muspelheim. So... Now, some of this is going to be hard for Helheim to know. You know, we're omniscients, we can see it pretty easily. But given that, it would be very silly, I think, for Helheim to do that, unless Helheim felt like the wheels were just falling off the bus with Muspelheim. Like, they're not even capable of conducting any defense. If they're not worthwhile to have as an ally, you might as well eat them, you know? So, anyway... All right, so here we go. We got a few battles here. See if there's anything interesting. Okay, so this is very interesting. Helheim with some Valkyries. Attacking one thick lad. Look at this boy. He's got a Ring of Tamed Lightning, and he's got a Ring of the Warrior for increased attack. Quicken Self. Skeletal Body. Skeletal Body's so good here, because these guys do piercing damage. It's not going to help against the Unholy Weapons, which is untyped. Oh, but not all these guys are blessed. Oh, how did they not get blessed? Hold up. What the fuck happened? Oh, he fucked up his script so bad. He's casting luck on them and not blessing them. I think I totally missed this the first time I recorded this. So I'm now on re-recording everything mode. These guys aren't blessed. That's why I lost. Yeah, by the time this guy gets over here, they're all passed out. Fucked up huge. Huge fuck up. Now, he can make a lot of these a turn. But okay. So we have a bit of a contestation. We've got some of these mounted herdmen against a big pile of muscle giants. And what do you think is going to win? If you thought the giants, you were right. Doesn't show many of them having gotten actually killed. So most of them survived in the retreat. Cavemen did not take this province. Looks like they barely were thrown off. And yeah, okay. So we'll do the rest from the map here. So Muspelheim has gone on top of Niflheim's capital, which I'll be honest, I was going through the moves they could make. I was like, they can move here, they can move here, they can move here. I didn't even think they would have the balls to go on their capital. I mean, that is super ballsy. Now, there's not much PD there, so you're not like fighting the normal 25 cap PD. But damn, this seems really risky to me. I don't know how many Niffle Giants it takes to kill 24 Muspel Giants in Cold 3. But I'm guessing it's like 8, 9? With buffs, maybe fewer? Like, there could be that many. And then this army's just dead. And it's like, you're like waving, like, hey, attack me when you go in their capital. Like, I kind of felt this Muspel. I mean, this, on one hand, I like it. It's balls, and it's like, hey, players got to make plays. So, you know, I can understand it. But seems like a bad move to me. I would have gone after this, like easier pickings. Okay, and then Helheim goes on top of this fort. These guys, this guy moves back down. I thought there were more guys up here. Maybe it was just one thug or super combatant. And the Niffle Giants are here. Yeah, 7 Niffle Giants. I think these guys are going to die. I think he goes here. If these guys stay on top, I think they're dead. I mean, he could like move off, but I don't know. Seems very spicy. And he's got a siege army coming in here. Look at all these Jotun hurlers. These guys are each like 6 or 7 siege value. So yeah, he's coming to knock down Fort Waz. It looks like he wants Niflheim. I don't even think you need siege chaff unless you're going for Niflheim proper. This has 1,000 wall integrity. This just has 200. Another reason to go for this first is you could wait for the siege train to come in. These guys moved off here. They didn't even leave like a scout on top to keep it locked down. That's a bit odd. But that allowed him, moving off, he got to kill all these guys, which I guess is nice. Especially since he was planning on attacking him later, but he didn't actually really kill that many. He just bounced them off. Some of them likely died in retreat, but probably not too many. Okay. So that's it for this turn. Let's go ahead and go to the next one, turn 30. All right, turn 30. So let's see what happened. We have a message from Helheim. Damn, wasted 17 sacreds due to a script error. Whatever. Might as well talk about my understanding of the game state. I need to wrap things up with Niflheim so I can move forces in position to deny the central throne from Vanheim. Once I have that, I can look at if I want to fight Chris or not. But for now, I'm mostly worried about him suddenly seizing control of those 2 thrones and ending the game before I can react. I think this is going to come up again for the rest of the game because I've already recorded this. Helheim just doesn't know how many thrones are needed to win. You need 4, and I think he thinks you only need 3. So let me just double check that, make sure my math isn't off. Yeah, you need 4. So I think he thinks you only need 3, so he's like worried about this throne rush or thinking about throne rushing himself. This is going to be a major part of Helheim thinking, and it's just wrong. So not too worried about fighting Muspelheim at the moment, and I think he is too worried about Vanheim to team up with them against me, which is the right thing. That's the right frame of mind to be in, I think. I think after we finish off Niflheim, my next goal is to do as much damage to Vanheim as I can, and then see if I can close out the game. I think that's about the right way to think about it. I mean, I think it's more complicated because you have Muspelheim, but I think that's approximately the way to think about it. Vanheim is the guy to beat at this moment due to the game state. Okay, what happens? Niflheim attacking... No. Look at these brave lads. First of all, their formation's fucked. Coral swords for a bit more HP and a bit more defense. That's a nice sword. He's got this... Oh, true sight to negate... Oh, this actually is clever. Yeah, the true sight from this amulet. I didn't even think about it. This is going to let him hit through mirror image, I believe. Yeah. Look at her, though. You know what she's casting? I do. She's casting Winter Ward. There's two of them. I wonder, did he empower her? He might have empowered her. And they were doing lesser Winter Ward. Okay. Like, guys, if you're doing this, please, like, just basic geometry here. We want to minimize surface area. Do not do a squiggly do. Like, this guy should be here, and this guy should be here in a nice little tight box. Come on. You got to, and I mean, yeah, it is really important. So let's look at the script, too. So we've got Blessing, Holy Avenger, Quicken Self, Skeletal Body. Okay, I want you to look at this. Okay, look at this picture. You can see, I'll zoom in a bit. Well, it's actually better zoomed out. Where are the most red numbers? They're here, and they're here. Who does not have any red numbers? This fucker. This guy doesn't even have that many. Right? So this guy, if you look at it, he's got basically 3 tiles that can attack him, but only one of the tiles is dedicated to attacking him. This one. This one here could potentially attack other guys too. So this guy has so many more. Like this guy has 5 tiles that can. Well, this guy technically has 4. So this guy has an extra tile that can. This has 5, but 3 of them are dedicated attack tiles. This is the only person these 3 can target. Same with this. This is the only person these 3 can target. So where do the red numbers pop up? Yeah, it pops up on the people who are fucking out of position. This is a mistake. Huge mistake. Huge. In the context of a game that isn't all that important exactly. I don't want to be like, the game's important, it's a huge... But if you want to win the game, it's a big mistake. Okay, first guy to die. Second guy to die is going to be probably this one. But might be this one. How did I know such things were going to happen? How could I possibly have predicted it? Could this have been won? That is what you're wondering. Maybe. It might have been possible. A lot of these guys were starting to get fatigued. Not all of them had cold resistance. A lot of them did. But like this guy didn't. This guy have... Yeah. Probably about half of these guys had cold resistance. So you could put half of them to sleep, which would have potentially decreased the damage incoming by a good bit. And then you're very killy yourself. You know, these guys they probably killed a decent number before they died. Yeah, 7. Yeah, I mean, that's going to be tough. I don't know. It's possible. It's possible. I don't want to say it was likely, but it's not a completely insane idea. This is the sort of thing that 6 Nipple Jarls might be able to take. Might. Maybe they needed more buffs than they had, or, you know, who knows exactly what the conditions were. But is not a crazy idea to think they could have taken this. Let's remind ourselves of the Niflheim Bless again. I kind of forget. I think it was Hardskin something. Hardskin region. Hardskin region, heroism, and then resilience and blur. That was a helpless. So, yeah. Ripperooning. Do the salute to the Nifl Jarls. Riding off into the sunset. Atlantean militia dying here. Scout ping on the throne. Some of the herdmen here coming in taking out these Ictids. And then we'll get a battle here. Herdmen do more good things. This is a huge army. This is the biggest army we have of Muspelheim, and it has now consolidated on top of this Mekonian fort. And it looks like they move off of the capital of Niflheim. And they move instead up here while they left the siege chaff on. That was so ballsy. If he had taken those 6 guys, some of them were probably trapped inside, which is a mistake. But if he had taken them and ridden out here, they might have taken this. But there's Muspel Giants mixed in. This could be too many Muspel Giants, even for a fair number of lads. But I don't know. The thing is the cold aura isn't going to work against the Muspel Giants because they have cold resistance. So that's a thing. However, if you have enough, they should trade well in just like a combat. Like, they're not going to fatigue them out and win victory that way, or certainly not very quickly. But they might just, if you have, that's why you need to bring enough. But if you have enough, especially these heroes are really good. They're going to blender stuff and be pretty resistant to Muspelheim Giants' attacks. I would have fought Muspelheim. Yeah, for sure. And then you need control of your capital. So this is interesting, but it just sort of looks like mistakes. And then these guys didn't come. I do think it's interesting that he didn't bring the Nifl Giants here, and I think it's actually probably wise, because especially, I don't know if he knew they would be having cold resistance, but if they have cold resistance, you can't really rely. It's not, the math is different, right? It's not just we need enough critical mass of stuff to make enough cold cloud so that these guys fall asleep before they can kill enough of our stuff. The math is different. It's now, can we, through really good stats, just kill them? And like through attack and defense and protection and these things, just straight up win the fight. And bringing these giants are going to be like weak links in the chain, and they'll be more likely to get killed off. So I think this was, if you were going to take this fight, if it was possible to work, it was probably only going to work without the giants, only with the Jarls. But I think you should have taken I don't know if it was a possibility, but if you could have taken all of them and hit the capital with it, this seems like it would be a way better move. Anyway, the Horn of Niflheim has probably blown its last toot, or last blast, last bellows. And we have a ping inside the Fortress of Mekone. Now, this is going to be rather important. First of all, there's a lot of things to appreciate. These guys on the wall are pretty fucking badass. They've got these. I think they have more than 4 ammo. I think on the wall, if you're on the wall, you get unlimited ammo. But that's a lot of high damage attacks. These things are very killy. And they have a huge army inside. They've got a lot of Discobolus carriers here. And then they've got, I like how they have things like staggered stuff in the front, stuff in the back. It's going to be pretty important for catching flyers. I think I would have preferred the mages more centralized, less spread out. You don't really have to worry about things like Thunderstrike yet, which is why you wouldn't want to cluster them up. But you do have to worry about flying thugs. And flying thugs, I think you want some guys on guard commander, and maybe these guys blasting them with something. I don't know what kind of evocation they have. But I think generally you want more clustered for the mage core with like stuff around them, maybe like Discobolus throwers around them, things like that. And I like these guys being in the back, because these really are going to be probably the things you want dealing with thugs, while these guys you want to get like temper armor on them and any other kind of buffs you can manage, and try to get them clogging up the gate, because they'll last a pretty long time unsurrounded by Van Heers if they get a lot of protection buffs on them. And by a long time, I mean maybe they can hold the gate for like 10 or 12 turns with this many of them. And if you can do things like Earth Meld in the gate, even longer. So The god is set up to thug, but isn't really positioned to thug. Now, she can wade, and she can even wade through big things like these hoplites. So, you know, what we could see is these guys getting in here, and then her wading in and holding one of the key positions in the gate. So if you imagine these guys, they get all buffed up with different, like the Legions of Steel buff, right? So their protection goes to like 23, maybe 24. You have them filling up the gate here, and there's, you know, 10 of them. You've got these guys raining down Discoboli. You've got maybe a couple mages here spamming different evocations or earth buffs here. And then the god waddles in and takes up one of these spots. Well, now that's going to decrease the attrition rate of these guys in the gate. And the god almost certainly, especially with this really heavy gear, the god can almost certainly tank being surrounded on each side by these Mekonian hoplites, Gigante hoplites. So I could see how they can hold. I think the major risk factors for here, the things you should know, is there's going to be flying Van Jarls and Van Herses. That's one of the main things you're going to have to account for. That should be, I think, one of the main things you plan around is how do we kill those thugs? So you come up with a plan for that. You know, I like they have these whites mixed in here. Then you have a plan to hold the gate. And then you have your god come in and fill it. Now, the reason I don't like taking battles like this, and the reason I would never keep an army this big inside my cap, is I usually would rather just let somebody take my cap if they beat me. Like, unless I have a huge axe to grind, if I'm going to get knocked out of a game, like, okay, you get my cap, that's fine. What I would much rather do is take the 5% chance, the 10% chance, maybe the 20% chance, ride out with the best scripting I can manage and the best thoughts I can manage, and try to aim for the glorious victory, and then have a chance at actually playing the game. That, anyway, I talked about this before in writing out, and I think that's why I generally almost always favor it, even if it's a really small chance. Sometimes you can get lucky with weird things like just really good hit defense rolls. I mean, normally it's like law of large numbers, these things average out, but you know, you can come up with some clever script or idea or something like that and turn things around. So anyway, that's the army inside of Mekone. So we're likely going to get to see them attack it. Vanheim, having digested it, I don't think they're going to sit on this unless they maybe tested it and decided there's not a way to take it. But I think, jumping into the mind of the Vanheim player, I think if you look at this with the number of thugs and stuff they have, I think you're going to think, oh, this is actually pretty spread out. I can take this with flying Van Jarls. And given that this could have been a full storming this turn with this much stuff on top, you would script your army inside how you would script it for the real fight. I wouldn't expect that to change. And given how things are spread out, that if you have thugs that jump in, there's a good chance they're going to survive. Yeah, I would think you ride out and take the fight as Vanheim. So that's fully what I expect to see next turn. This fort not popped yet. There's a bunch of garbage on top. And I think with that, I think we're going to do one more turn. We'll do one more turn here. We'll do turn 31. All right, turn 31. So there's a battle in Darmum. We'll just go through these real quick and see what happens. And then we'll make sure we don't click on any of the fort storming. So this is interesting. He's trying to get these Niffle Giants out. So he attacks but retreats. And that worked. And then here are the fort battles. Don't want to spoil them, so I'm not going to click on them. The battle for Mekone. He's got some sacrificial guys to hopefully eat these Discoboli shots in the front. The formation has changed slightly. He's moved these guys back, put a little bit more chaff in front, some archers up here. Generally, things are sort of spread out, though. The god right here. So we'll take a look at... Well, first we'll look at the Vanheim script. We'll see what they're doing. Then, before the combat really starts, we'll watch the Mekone script, and then we'll watch the battle in full. A bunch of air shield. This is important for all the Discoboli. A bunch of mist form. And it looks like everybody's blessed. A little bit of temper armor, some personal luck. Now, personal luck's really good here against these giants. Shroud of Bewilderment. Okay. He hasn't done personal flight yet. Okay, there goes personal flight. Okay, so basically he's put gems on them so they can do things like Shroud of Bewilderment. They're doing Personal Mist Form. They're doing Air Shield. Everybody's getting blessed. Then they're doing Personal Flight, and then they're going to jump in. These guys did not get buffed with... The Van Heers did not get buffed with much. It's just basically their bless. Okay, that's that side. Now let's look at the Mekone side. Okay, we have a bunch of Body Ethereal. Now, Body Ethereal is actually really good here because these guys do not have magic weapons. But while you can cut the damage of these guys down a lot, will you cut it enough? So Body Ethereal, I think, is coming mostly from this lady, so there's not a ton of it. There's a few of them here, though. We see Summon Earth Power, Fire Shield, Personal Iron Skin. I think there are some mistakes. I think there should have been more of the Temper Armors. We can see some of them going off here, but I think you should have done, like, there should have been more Earth Power, Temper Armors. I think there was, like, one too many things like Personal Iron Skin and Fire Shield and shit. Like, that stuff doesn't matter. Like, what are we... Well, I guess this guy doesn't have much he can do, but, like, what are we doing? This guy, you'd probably want to do Furious Warriors, too, if you could. The God is getting buffed up to Thug, and it's round 4. Okay. So that's basically it, and then these guys run in. The thing we can notice, and this is one of the things when you have thugs which are going to fly in on round 6 after 5 rounds of buffing, very hard unless you have really long-range archers or to, like, keep guys around your mages. Bodyguards is one of the few ways, so that's going to be the thing. The mages are going to be very exposed to Van Jarl's attacking. Okay, so let's go ahead and actually watch it now, and I'll be quiet and let you guys enjoy it. I mean, not a horrible scripted battle from Mekone. They were a bit lucky, I think, that there wasn't like a huge deluge of attack rear thugs that came in and killed all their mages. But the thugs butchered stuff up here at the front. I think this is the other problem. I don't know how this could have been better avoided, maybe for like back positioning the army more. This is the worst. The actual worst. This is horrible. So let's see how that happened. So they are on hold and attack. How did these guys get out here? Because these guys, all this shit out here in the front actually fucked up everything. How did those fuckers get out there? So these guys are only on hold and attack too. Is that normal? I felt like the wall guys wait there. Because I feel like it's impossible to rush through the wall. Maybe that's normal and I just missed it. Yeah, I guess you have to just back position these guys more, which you'd really only know if you test. It's probably hard to think that, hey, my guys are going to rush out and kind of distract them for a turn. This could have worked, I think. I think Mekone could have held, potentially. They really needed to keep the gate, like, limit the fight to just here in the gate. And they had a lot of evocation, these disco boli raining down. Yeah, I think they actually could have won. But it just had to do with not having their guys run out past the gate and keeping the fight confined in here and then getting the god in here. But, well, you know, that part could have been done better. They did also sort of get lucky that the Van Heers didn't attack the flank. So if that happened, like, swung harder the other way, then maybe they wouldn't have won. But it's hard to know. And then we have a storming here in the fort of Solania, and I think this has been drained out. Yeah, there's nothing inside. So this gets taken. Okay. So game state now. Not Mekone. Vanheim has killed Mekone. They just have one fort left in an underwater province, which is about to be taken by these militia. And then they're out of the game. And they're ready to fight. But meanwhile, Niflheim is in trouble, but not yet dead. So they lost this fort here. These guys retreated out here. The fort here is still not broken. This looks like a coordinated maneuver because Muspelheim had attacked up here, and then these guys are coming and taking it. Very bold moves, opening themselves up to tons of defeat in detail. Potentially, there's not a lot of Niflheim assets on the board to defeat them in detail, so it probably makes sense to split up. But if there were, I think there were 4 guys. Maybe, I guess they stayed here. So we'll get to see what Niflheim does with the rest of their forces. So tune in next time, and we'll see what happens. So until then, take care.